welcome to another edition of OnSide SA. We're still waiting for the start of the new season. We can get Last One Standing going. We'll have the Community Shield. So it's all going to happen in August, but we're doing Swedish football. We're doing American football. It's getting rather interesting. And Budge, what's the latest?
Yeah, Paul, transfers. Man United, we don't know. Every day there's a sell going through. Is this guy signing? Who knows, Paul? The fans are getting fed up.
Maybe Stevie B knows.
Well, maybe. Let's hope he does know. But, yeah, the Glazers are just playing Stonewall. The guy offered $5 billion.
Yeah, who owns it now?
It's the Glazers.
Still.
The Sheik offered $5 billion. Sir Jim Ratcliffe offered, and they're just messing around. So,
yeah,
who
they've made
knows
enough money out of it. But with United, what's happening to Greenwood?
Oh, he's training. He's back in training.
Okay,
there's talk that
he's going to take flack
him
on a field, eh?
Well, he's got wherever he goes, Paul.
Yeah, wherever he goes.
Mason Mount's going to take just as much flack.
Well, what did he do wrong?
Well, he's left Chelsea.
Yeah, but this guy's got a...
Well, he was innocent.
He was innocent, but you know, people don't remember that.
No,
they don't remember innocent. Do you think O.J. Simpson gets clapped when he walks into a room? No. But let's see what Stevie's going to say, because he's an old O.J. fan.
Steve, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
All right, as we said prior, we're not going to talk about cricket because you're 2-0 down, but
you'll come
absolutely.
Back,
you'll come back. Steve, the biggest sign is going through so far. Declan Rice, will that go through today?
It sounds like it's going to go through, whether it's today or not. But it seems like Arsenal have sort of agreed to payment terms. West Ham basically wanted most of the money up front, or certainly over no more than a year or two, and I think Arsenal have agreed to that. So that is a huge signing for them. Whether or not he's worth 105 million, but obviously there's a premium to pay for young English players, and they're prepared to break the bank for it.
Yeah, Kai Havertz I thought was a strange signing. 65 million for him. That's madness.
Yeah. Madness.
It is, when you think that he's not an out-and-out sort of goal scorer, but you know, they're obviously see something in him that Chelsea have prepared to let go. So you know, they're certainly splashing the cash, and looks like a deal has been agreed with Ajax for Timber, so they could well be spending well over 200 million on those three players.
Yeah, I've watched him because.
Just interrupting you. What English player? What was the highest English player before this?
Grealish, 100. Was it Man City?
And what was Maguire?
80,
and technically Bellingham, I suppose, because obviously he's a young English player, gone to Madrid. But yeah, so I mean, it's 100 million seems to be the bar for the sort of the big name English players.
Yeah, crazy. Talking of that, 60 million for Mount. What do you think?
Yeah, well, look, he's a good young player, and he's still 24, I think. You know, they've got given him a 5-year contract. I think a lot of Chelsea fans are upset that he hasn't been looked after. You know, he came through the academy. You know, they got him for nothing, so obviously it's all profit, and they would need to cash in Chelsea. But I think that's a good signing. Interesting, they've given him the number 7 shirt, so he's got big steps to follow after Beckham and Ronaldo. But no, I think he's a quality player, and you know, I think that's probably a good move for him.
Yeah.
Who's Sandro Tonali?
Sandro Tonali came from AC Milan, plays in the Italian league. He's gone to Newcastle, so he'll be the holding player. Is that deal done? That done, 50-odd million. Yeah, that's a good signing for them. They've been very quiet in the market, Steve. Newcastle. I see them.
They have, but I think they're biding their time. You know, that was a good buy. Interesting that Christian Leao of AC Milan, who's probably their star player, has sort of expressed concern that they've let him go, you know, because a lot of clubs are after him, and he sort of pledged his allegiance to Milan, and then sees one of their star players leave. So, you know, I think that's a good bit of business. I think Newcastle, you know, are looking at that sort of market now, being a Champions League team. I think, you know, they're an attractive proposition.
Yeah, they've got to buy right, because plenty of weaknesses in the squad, and especially with Champions League, Wednesday, Saturday won't be easy, especially to finish in the top 4. But that's a good start for them. I thought Liverpool have done good business. McAllister, Zoe Basley. I haven't watched much of him. I know he's Hungarian captain, played for RB Leipzig, but it's amazing how Liverpool get their deals done quickly and United struggle. But if Van Dijk has a good season, I think Liverpool will be back in contention, Steve.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it sounds like both clubs have not got a huge budget, and therefore they want to get their business done. sort of early and get the players in. Obviously, it depends whether or not they then sell a few players to raise some more funds, whether that can be released. But so yes, you say Klopp's gives a comment. It gives the impression that his midfield business might be done. I think he's shored up his midfield with those two.
Yeah, especially where Trent Alexander will go sneaking in trying to get a game there. That'll be interesting if he signs another defender. And last but not least, the Super Spurs, Paul. James Maddison, I think that's a good signing.
Right type of price, Kulusevski, they secured that. They're going hard for Solomon, going very hard, and they've got Van der Vent or Van der Veen or something that they want. They realise the problem's at the back, the central defenders. They've got another goalie in, the Empoli goalie. He'll start. He'll definitely start.
What about Harry Maguire? Rumour they want to try and sneak him on loan?
Nothing there in the transcripts that I get. Nothing. His name hasn't come up.
Not so?
No.
I think it'll be an improvement on what you got, even though everyone slags him off, Maguire.
I'll take him in a heartbeat.
Steve, question on your Fulham team, Paulinia. Now that West Ham
at the moment, well, you say that, but I think we've said that we want some crazy price for him. Fulham fans are a little bit concerned at the moment. It all seems to be, we're linked with a lot of players, and some of our players being linked to go. So, Paulinia was a rock at the back for us. We can't afford to let him go unless someone's prepared to come in with silly money. But I think that the optics wouldn't look very good if we let him go at the moment.
Yeah, what about Fred? There's rumour that, weren't you interested in Fred?
They can have him.
It sounds like it, but we weren't prepared to pay the 20 million, whether or not that's going to come down. But Silva, I think Silva quite likes him, but, we'll see. I think at this moment in time, it's still, we're still weeks away from the season starting. The trouble is we tend to do most of our business late, which is not always good. We certainly need to do the main bits of business we need to do before the season starts. Last season, we got players like Polina and Pereira in before the season, and we started well. We can't afford to start slowly. Okay. So it's a little bit sort of nervy times at the moment. As I say, we've got we've had one or two players whose contracts come to an end, like Willian, who we only offered a 1-year deal evidently, and he wanted 2. So I'm hoping we go back for him and offer him what he wants, because he was, he was class last season for us.
Yeah, okay. My mate asked me last night, one of the few Fulham supporters in South Africa, what is going on with William? Okay, well, we'll try and keep everybody updated, but you just never know. Guys, we're going to go now onto the Swedish League, which is the Allsvenskan. We'll get the betting up now, Steve, and it kicks off Saturday lunchtime with ARK Stockholm against league winners BK Häcken. How do you see it going?
Well, Stockholm surprised me last week, having only won once all season. They go to to my value bet and win. I'm not sure they'll beat Häcken. Häcken have had a decent start, sitting in 3rd place. Drew last week, but I think Häcken should start as favourites.
Yeah, no doubt. Only thing is they're away from Häcken, only 1 win in 5. But ARK Stockholm, big team in Sweden, beat Brommapojkarna in the Swedish and the Stockholm derby. I think there'll be goals in that, Steve, but I don't see ARK Stockholm winning. Next game's got me stumped, Steve. IFK Värnamo against Djurgården. How do you see it going?
Well, I think that Djurgården probably should start as favourites, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think that they'll get something there, though. I think draw and away win for me.
Yeah. What does AIK stand for? What does IFK stand for?
Athletic, Atletico, Internet, whatever. I have no idea. I'll look it up for you, Paul. Okay. Likewise, I think it's International Football Club. The other one. I always worry when teams like Djurgården, they haven't won in the last 6 away from home. I know 11 or 10 is short.
They're bound to win.
They're bound to win, sure. But that's my only concern. An team plays on artificial surface, going to a grass pitch. But I agree, I don't see them losing Djurgården, but you just never know. Now, Steve, biggest club in the world, Brommapojkarna. I was going to make them my best bet of the weekend. I think they'll beat Degerfors. 6 away games, Degerfors. They've lost all 6, struggling for goals. Brommapojkarna, good thing. Steve, how do you see it?
Well, they should be, but I expected them to win last week. I think they will win. Might be a little bit closer than the odds show, but I think they should be favourites.
Yeah, well, last week was a local derby. You know, they're like the Everton to Liverpool, or maybe they're like Tranmere Rovers to Liverpool. So they had a good start at home against a struggling team. For me, 8 to 10's a gift. Malmö, the top team in Sweden.
1 to 4.
Too good for Mjalby, Steve?
Yeah, they should be. I mean, their form has been really good. They had a big win last week. You know, 11 wins out of 13. I think they should be clear favourites again.
Yeah, and the only time we went for them at home was against Hackett, and they drew 1-1. Unbelievable. On to the second page, and time to get serious. Steve, at home against Hammarby. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I think they should start as favourites, but I think it's going to be a close game. They've quite evenly matched these two. Sirius obviously came unstuck last week, but I think this will be close. I think this of the ones that we've spoken about, this is probably could have draw written all over it.
Yeah.
They haven't won their last 8 away games.
Haven't won away from home this season, Hammarby, but Sirius who won 3 in a row before they travelled to Malmö and got a smack. Yeah. So of the two teams, I like Sirius, but the 24 to 10, the draw definitely is in play. Kalmar, Elfsborg, Steve. We got money with Elfsborg on Monday, but 12 to 10 against a Kalmar team who are unbeaten in 5. Another tight game.
I think it will be. Elfsborg are having a great season. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Malmö are really running away, Elfsborg could have been top themselves. So I think this would be a close game. Kalmar are a decent side. I mean, that you know, probably not as high in the league as we thought they might be, but I think that for me, it's either an away win or possibly a draw. But I can't see Elfsborg losing.
That's amazing. 4 wins, 1 draw, and 1 defeat for Kalmar at home. But Elfsborg lost their first game and unbeaten in the last 12. 10 wins and 2 draws. I think there'll be goals.
A good game.
Draws a good game. Now, the worst 2 teams in the league, IFK Gothenburg against Varbergsbois. I can't believe this team can be 6 to 10, even though they have performed slightly better than Varbergsbois. Steve, are you taking 6 to 10?
Probably not, but I think they will be favourites. I mean, you know, Varbergsbois, they haven't won all season. They've drawn a few, they haven't won all season. I can't see them getting their first win. Although you never know with the Swedish league. But I think I think the home team should be favourites for this one.
Yeah, 9 to 10 over 2.5 goals, and with both teams having to go for it, even though they are that bad. I think that's the only way to go. And last but not least, Steve, how do you see Norrköping going against Halmstad?
Well, I think they should be favourites.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, the odds obviously, there's not much value in them, but I think they should start as favourites.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like Norrköping at home. They haven't got a bad record, and the only teams that have beat them have been the better teams in the league. So Norrköping, even money at short, but Monday nights, that's for me. Steve, on to the MLS. There are a few games at midweek. We won't give you the scores because the one that ended this morning cost me a few $100 with New York City drawing with Charlotte. But we kick off, ironically, with Charlotte at home against Cincinnati. Which way do you see it going?
Well, it's interesting. I thought the odds for Charlotte are a little bit short. Cincinnati, they don't travel as well, or you know, but they're still top of the form guide for both conferences this season. So I'd be surprised if Cincinnati don't get something there.
Yeah, I agree. With 7 to 10,
still getting international players in I know Messi's gone, but are the European players, the British players, still going out to these teams?
My best bit of the weekend is they've just made one of their, well, Ben Teke's designated player for DC United, and Timo Pukki's gone to Minnesota. So they are slowly but surely roping them in. But there's certain rules in America, Paul. You can't just go and spend a fortune.
Okay.
I think it's 1 designated player, 1 international, and you've got to abide by the rules. Otherwise, you're gone. But I agree, Steve. Cincinnati, for me, only 1 loss in their last 12, and I can't have Charlotte. Haven't won in 6. Drew the last 4, win and draw Cincinnati. 7 to 10, win and draw for me at Cincinnati. Now Columbus at home against New York City, Steve.
Well, Columbus are having a great season. New York City, you know, disappointing, I think, really, compared to how we expected. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Columbus win that. You know, as I say, they're having a very good season.
Yeah, totally agree. Won the last 5 at home. Only thing is New York City unbeaten in 7, but 6 of those have ended in draws. But totally agree. Columbus, don't see them losing. New York City. DC United. Wayne Rooney, they won in midweek. Cost me a few rand. I win for goals. Wayne Rooney's the boss. And our man, OnSide Ben Teke. He never played in midweek. No wonder they only scored 1 goal. But Inter Miami are woeful. They drew 2-2 in midweek. Messi plays the next game, Steve, July the 16th for Inter Miami. That's when reportedly he is going to play, so you'd expect them to have a decent performance. I think they're going to get another smack here, Steve. How do you see it?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, haven't won in 7 defeats, followed by 2 draws. At least they've stopped the rot. But I think that was a good win for DC the other night, and I think Wayne Rooney has just got them, playing a little bit better. So I think, for me, I think a home win at this time. Obviously next week with the Messi factor, that could be different, but I think this week DC will start as favourites.
Yeah, I agree. 15-10, DC to win by more than 1 goal. That's definitely one of my plays this weekend. Montreal at home against Atlanta. Atlanta only lost 1 in 9, but away from home they haven't won in 4. Montreal cost us last week, Steve, when ironically they lost 1-0 to New York City. Can you see them rebounding?
Yeah, I think they could do. I mean, they're not a bad side at home. I think this would be quite a close game. I think I think the teams are quite evenly matched. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Atlanta maybe hold them, but otherwise, maybe just Montreal might just edge it.
Yeah, win and draw Montreal. Now, the big New York-Boston game, New York Red Bull against New England. You called it last week, Steve. You thought New England would upset Cincinnati. They nearly did. They drew 2-2. But they've got a poor record in New York. Can you see it changing here?
Well, I think those odds. I think there's definitely a lot of value in New England. Yeah. But I think they could get something there. I think if you were looking at those odds, you think that New York were the team who are sitting near the top of the table, but it's the other way around. So I fancy New England. I think they'll go there and get a result.
29-10.
8-10 win and draw. I thought that was a good price. On to the second page where we've got Toronto against a guy that played in South Africa, Bradley Carnell. Remember the left back from Wits? He's in charge of St. Louis.
He's in charge.
German connection, and he played in Germany, so he's in charge. They've come right. They've won the last 2. You think they can beat Toronto, Steve?
I think so. Toronto have been a really poor season. Yeah. I'm surprised that the odds are a little bit in their favour. I sort of backed St. Louis last week. Yeah. And I think they might, they don't travel as well, but I think that they might get a result this week, though.
Yeah. So Toronto, Paul, remember the American who had the most expensive watch in the Premiership at one stage? Bob Bradley.
Of the managers.
Of the managers,
Sean
yeah.
Dodge, £45,000.
Yeah. He was in charge of Toronto. They fired him.
Bob Bradley, the American.
American, yeah. He was at Toronto. They fired him. His son who played at Bolton, I think it was, Steve, and Sunderland. He's still there, but they've had a nightmare run, and I agree. St. Louis win and draw there, but we all know how difficult it is for the away sides travelling. Chicago, my man Shaqiri let me down last week. They only scored 1. I needed to score 2. They just come back into the team. Against the Nashville team, Steve, going well. Which way do you see it going?
Well, I think Nashville are going very well. Yeah. I think surprised a lot of people this season. I think they could get something there. I don't think Chicago should start as clear favourites. Yeah. So I think Nashville could definitely get something there.
One thing that's guaranteed when Shaqiri plays is goals. He doesn't defend, but he can create. And over 2.5 goals, both teams to score. I think it was 12-10. That's our play there. Houston, Steve, I watched them beat Los Angeles twice. I think they'll beat Sporting Kansas City. I like the look of 11-10. But how do you see it?
Yeah, I think they should do. They've come unstuck the last week or so, Houston. They've lost a couple, but they did play well against LAFC. So I think you're right. I think they'll start as favourites, but I think it'll be close.
Now that's Sporting Kansas City. I can't catch them, but Houston's last 2 defeats were away from home. They've won the last 3 at home, so they'll have my money. And my bet of the weekend, Steve, Minnesota, Timo Pukki. He's been there training. We got the money last week with them, and Austin just can't catch that team from Texas. Capital Texas, Paul Austin? Is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
anyway.
It is. Well, I agree. I think Minnesota had a big win last week. And I think with Pukki, whether he starts or comes off the bench, next week. But I think that Minnesota should start as favourites, and I think there's a bit of value there. I fancy a home win.
Yeah, that Adrian Heath, he's still there. Surprised he hasn't left.
Inchy.
Oh, man, Inchy, Colorado, Dallas, Steve. I can't get my head around Dallas. I thought there'd be goals in midweek against DC United, but apparently they were woeful, according to reports. But Colorado are the worst team in the MLS. 24-10 the draw?
Colorado are the most... Well, you know, I think that Colorado will be pleased with the draw because they are the worst performing team in the two conferences this season. So I think if they got a draw, it'll probably be a good result for them. I can't see them winning. They've struggled to put a win together all season.
Yeah, they did play well in midweek when the game got postponed because of lightning, when they were playing Portland. So it's not like other games where, you know, they just call it off, postpone the whole game. They'll come back and play the second half at a due date. So very interesting, but I agree. I think the draw there, you can't trust either side. On to our final page, Real Salt Lake against Orlando City. Steve, how do you see it?
Well, both teams having a reasonable season. Real Salt Lake are having a pretty good season. Orlando had a good win last week. I think the home team should start as favourites, but I think it'll be close.
Yeah, they've only lost 1 in 10, Real Salt Lake, Steve, but at home they haven't won in 4. They've got the best away record in the MLS.
Yeah.
Orlando City, away from home, I don't know, I just can't catch them, you know. So Real Salt Lake should be in there, but I'm going to throw the draw into my exotics.
Yeah.
LA Galaxy, Steve, I don't know if you know this, but Tuesday night it was record attendance. I think it was 94,000 when they played Los Angeles. I think it was 94.
Yeah, they beat them.
They won 2-1. Ricky Puig, is it Ricky Puig, the boy from Barcelona? He's been there. Apparently he played well. I'm all over LA Galaxy here to beat Philly, Steve. I don't think Philadelphia travelled too well, especially to the West Coast.
Galaxy aren't doing that well, but...
No, but they've unbeaten the last 6, but they've come right playing-wise. I fancy Galaxy at home, Steve. What do you think?
I think you're probably right, although, as I say, Philadelphia is still having a reasonable season, but as you say, it tends to be their home form. So I think you're right. I think that was a big win for Galaxy in their derby. Yeah. I think they'll be buoyed by that. And I think they'll start as favourites, but I think it'll be close.
Yeah, it should be. I just thought 15-10 was a big price, and when you have a look at Philadelphia away from home, especially travelling to the West Coast, they haven't won in a while, so I'm taking a chance on LA Galaxy. The team I can't catch is Los Angeles with all their players, Carlos Vela and co. They were woeful. I can't believe they're 5-10, but San Jose, not the best away from home, Steve, but I think Los Angeles, that's too short. But which way do you see it?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they've lost 5. I mean, after that really good start where they won 7 and only lost 1 of their first 12, they've now lost 5 of their last 7 since they've come back. You know, something's gone. Something has upset the apple cart there for that club, and I think that 5-10 looks very short. You know, they probably will just about start as favourites, but that's a very short price, and you know, you're not sure what's going on at the moment. You know, with the players that they've got available, they should be doing better.
Yeah, totally agree, and it's over 2.5 goals every game, but just really tough to call, especially back in the mat, right? And last but not least, Vancouver, a great home record against a Seattle team that are going well, sitting in second in the West. How do you see it, Steve?
Yeah, it's a bit of a derby. I mean, obviously, those two clubs in Portland have their own little rivalry going on. As you say, Vancouver lost last week, but they're decent at home. I think this will be a close game. You know, but Seattle are having have sort of pulled themselves up. You know, the last few weeks, their results have been improving. So I think this could be very close. I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle hold them.